She told the DHS secretary to keep his finger to himself, and the room went silent. Rosa DeLauro just lit into Markwayne Mullin over lost children, gutted TSA workers, and bodies piling up in ICE custody. I'm Donald Taylor. If you want the truth Washington keeps burying, hit that subscribe button right now and stay with me.
Pay no attention to the remediation session, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate, Mr. Secretary, your concern about the lost children, but I also want to remind people that let's not forget what was a Trump administration policy initiated by Stephen Miller, which was to let us separate children from their families at the border, because this would be a way to curtail or to stop immigration, separating children from their families, how to hurt them the most. I asked and had a phone conversation with Secretary Azar at the time. I know I was in my living room with my 2-year-old grandson on my lap trying to have this conversation, and I asked him if there was a way in which he had a list of how you could reunite children with their families, and he assured me that we did. You know, when you take your clothes to the cleaners, they give you a tag, and you then go back and you retrieve your clothes. When you get luggage, you go and get your luggage is returned. Well,
I wish the Biden administration would have done that.
Let me just say this to you, sir. Again, it is my time. 3,900 children were separated from their families.
450,000 kids were lost during the Biden administration. You didn't say a word about it.
Mr. Secretary, do not interrupt.
Don't you point your finger at me. Don't
I
be a
will
hypocrite.
point my finger at you.
Don't you be a hypocrite then. Then you be as you should be as upset about the 450,000 kids that were lost. You didn't say a word about it. For 4 years, you never said a word.
Mr. Secretary.
Could you put him in his place for
Don't yell at me.
You should be put in your place.
Mr. Secretary, if you would like 4 minutes for a closing statement when everybody's done, I'll give you that. But while members are on their 8 minutes, I need them to have their 8 minutes.
I started my comments.
I appreciate that. My issue is that they say this for sound bites, and I'm not going to let them say something
What did
like
you
that
do
that's
just
not true.
recently for sound bites? I sympathize with the 400,000.
We are going to have something resembling order here. The time is the ranking members. If you would like to respond later on, there are methods to do that, but it's not a who can talk louder into the mic.
It's not.
So, you are recognized.
Thank you very much.
I will not let her
Mr.
sit there and lie and accuse something this ridiculous.
You know-
Well, this is the legislative branch, and it's my hearing, and so I'm going to try to some extent to control it moderately.
And do
Thank you.
not accuse me of lying. Do not.
Then don't.
I do not. I appreciate, and I said to you at the outset, there's concern for children across the board. We care deeply about what's happening to children. And I went to the border and I watched children in those fenced-in places years ago and what was happening to them. So I have a long history, Mr. Secretary, in this area. 3,900 kids were separated. Secretary Azar told me he had a way to reunite them. Many of them were not reunited till today. And I don't want you to answer this now. Please get back to us and tell us what you are doing with regard to the settlement in terms of this issue, which is out there, which your department needs to come close to. I'll make a statement to you again. But this is fact from the bill, Mr. Chairman. The bill that the Republicans have proposed for funding the Department of Homeland Security cuts cybersecurity budget by more than $250 million. It cuts the TSA by nearly $350 million. And the Trump administration is openly advocating for privatizing TSA while trying to eliminate their collective bargaining rights. We all know what happened earlier this year. TSA workers endured the longest government shutdown in history. There was a lot of discussion and talk invoked about the long lines and the use of leverage to force through a Homeland Security bill without any reforms to what were critical ICE and CBP reforms that were necessary, that the American people wanted and were clamoring for. They didn't want to continue to see masked marauders on their streets with just harassing people. Congress eventually passed my legislation that paid TSA workers, funded FEMA, CISA, Secret Service, and the Coast Guard. And today, and it took you 79 days on the Republican side to make that decision to pay these people instead of just talking about paying this. The administration continues to attempt to walk away from the collective bargaining agreement with TSA workers, something that the federal courts have now twice said is illegal. Indeed, your testimony frames the attempt to force over 200 smaller airports in this country into a new security structure as a setting. And quote, the TSA, this is in the testimony, the TSA is on the path to privatization. My question on this issue is, given all that the transportation security offers did for us during a Republican shutdown, how can it be that the department's position is that TSA workers should not be granted the same basic labor protections as federal enforcement officers? How can it be that your priority is to have them work for the lowest bidder, where the wages and the benefits of these workers will unquestionably be lower?
Well, actually, it was the Democrats that voted every time to shut them down. Republicans voted every time to open them up.
Pass.
So
Just give me
we
the
didn't
answer
shut them
to my
down. You
question.
shut them down.
Answer my question.
I did.
What are you doing? Why are you moving?
Ma'am, I answered your question. You were the one that shut them down. It was the Democrat shut down. How many times did you vote to shut them down?
Why? You know, these people come to us to get funding for the work that they do, and we ought
I'm
to
actually
take a look at
factually
the work
correct.
that they
I'm
don't do.
factually correct.
The work
You
that they
voted
don't
to
do.
shut them down. Republicans voted to open them over and over and
Well,
over
what
again.
the
Your vote
Republicans
clearly
finally
stated that
did-
you voted to shut us
what they
down.
finally
It
did-
wasn't until it became
Madam
popular.
Ranking
And then, by
Member.
the way, ICE agents came there and helped bring the
Mr.
lines down. The
Secretary.
same people that you also kept shut down for
Mr.
115
Secretary.
days. I'm answering the question.
No, you
I thought you
didn't,
said
Mr.
you answered it.
Secretary.
The floor is hers.
My dear,
Actually, I gave it to her. You know, there is a chairman of a committee. That's me. I gave it back to her.
this tells
She's
you
got it.
something about who these folks are. And
You have
everybody
another
on this
question,
panel.
Madam Ranking
Well,
Member.
yeah, no, I do, but I didn't get an answer to a question.
So the
How
record
can
will
it
so
be-
reflect.
Thank you.
Please ask your next
Okay,
question.
and I will. This has to do with FEMA. Simple question. And I want to start where I left off with Secretary Noem last year. FEMA. Simple yes or no. Do you support eliminating FEMA? Do you support eliminating FEMA?
There's portions of FEMA that
Do
need
you
to be back in
support
state.
eliminating
There's no yes or
FEMA?
no question on that. There's
Do you
portions that need to go back
support
to the state.
eliminating FEMA?
The record will reflect the
That
response.
he is
The record
supports-
will reflect the
that
response.
he was-
Is there another
supports
question?
it. Yeah, because let me just say, in April of 2025, the Trump administration prematurely, I'm glad we got that answer, because the poor gentleman who came before, it may have been with you, Mr. Chairman, that came before our committee, and I asked him this question, and he said, because Secretary Noem said, yes, she and the president wanted to eliminate FEMA. The gentleman said that he said it should be reformed, and the next day he was fired. Let it show that the secretary believes that we should shut FEMA down.
I never
April
said that.
2025, the
Mr. Chairman,
administration.
I never said that.
The administration prematurely,
The record will
unlawfully
reflect what you did and didn't
ended
say accurately.
FEMA's BRIC program. He intentionally halted roughly 2,000 active infrastructure and disaster mitigation projects across the country, including one in downtown New Haven, Connecticut. A coalition of 22 states and D.C. sued FEMA. A federal judge ruled in favor of the states in December, mandated that FEMA restore the over $3.6 billion and canceled funding. At the beginning of March, the judge had to order FEMA to comply with that ruling. 3 months ago, the day after you took over as secretary, FEMA formally announced a, quote, new and improved BRIC program. Yet, almost all of these communities are still waiting for their BRIC funding to be restored. Tell me, Mr. Secretary, when can communities with halted projects expect to receive their BRIC funding?
We actually restarted that when I first came in, and we did 24 or 25 of them. So
You've done 24 of the 25
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
2,000.
I mean, let me clarify that. So
Please.
2024 and 2025, they sent out the notice of notifications, so everybody can now submit, and those projects that were already submitted for those times period will be
How many
reevaluated.
projects are there?
We can get you the details.
Please, there were 2,000 that we started with.
The Secretary also provided direction for 2026 to get the NOFOs out on that, and that'll come out sometime in September. The Secretary has done more to get that.
I do not need you do not need to.
I just want to make sure you're clear.
Well, please.
Okay.
Spare us. Just give me the facts. Just give me the numbers. Let me just conclude, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. I'd like to work in an open and in a transparent way, because that BRIC funding for New Haven, Connecticut, which I probably will not get because I'm in a blue state, that the BRIC funding for New Haven, Connecticut is important, which is why we support the programs, bipartisan support for the BRIC program. So please, let's get the NOFOs out as quickly as possible and get the money to the communities that need them. My final comment to you is, I'd just like to go back a second. We need to go back to the issue of deaths in custody. It doesn't do anyone good to deflect, talk about what's happening in the criminal system in Illinois or in Oklahoma. What we need, because 54 deaths are 54 in what is civil detention, we need a plan to address the fact that 54 people in your department they were in civil detention, it's not criminal detention, are dead. They should not be. We need to hear from you. I don't need an answer now. There is no time. I've taken an enormous amount of time. Get us a policy, a plan, in a timely fashion that says, how are we going to deal with these issues? I yield back, and I thank you, Mr.
Thank you to the ranking member.
Watch how this starts. DeLauro doesn't ease in. She drags the conversation straight back to the policy nobody on that side wants named: the Stephen Miller blueprint to rip children away from their parents at the border. She's not asking a soft question here. She's reminding everyone in that room that the cruelty was the point, that taking a child was chosen specifically because it would hurt families the most. And you can already feel Mullin bracing, because he knows exactly where she's going. Years after the implementation of the cruel zero-tolerance border policy spearheaded by Stephen Miller, thousands of children remain scarred by the forced separations. Democratic lawmakers continue to pressure DHS for concrete plans to reunite the remaining families, criticizing the systemic failures that allowed children to slip through the cracks. And that's the part that should stop you cold. We are not talking about a paperwork error. 3,900 children were torn from their families, and many were never returned. DeLauro put it plainly: when you drop clothes at the cleaners, you get a tag so you can find them again. This administration treated human children with less care than a laundry ticket. There was no real system to reunite them, no urgency, no plan. And when she pressed on it, the answer she got was a finger pointed back in her face. Here it is. This is the moment the whole hearing turned. DeLauro lays out the number: 450,000 kids lost track of. And Mullin starts talking over her, jabbing his finger across the table. Don't point your finger at me. Don't you be a hypocrite. Watch his reaction, because this is a man who spent 4 years saying nothing about those separated children. And the second he's held accountable, he tries to bully the ranking member into silence. The chairman has to step in just to restore order. That's how rattled he is. The current Republican-led budget for the Department of Homeland Security includes severe cuts to the TSA and a renewed push to privatize airport security. Critics argue this move is a thinly veiled attempt to strip federal workers of their collective bargaining rights and drive down wages to benefit private contractors. And remember who we're talking about. These are the same TSA workers who showed up and kept airports running through the longest government shutdown in history, working without pay. DeLauro's bill is what finally got them their money after 79 days of Republicans just talking about it. Now the thanks they get is a plan to hand their jobs to the lowest bidder, slash their wages, and gut the union protections that federal courts have already ruled twice they're entitled to. Reward the loyalty with a pay cut. That's the play. Now she pivots to FEMA, and she asks the simplest possible question: yes or no? Do you support eliminating FEMA? Watch Mullin refuse to answer it. He twists, he dodges, he talks about portions that need to go, anything to avoid saying the word yes on the record. But DeLauro already knows. She reminds the room that the last official who admitted the secretary wanted FEMA gone was fired the very next day. So when disaster strikes your town, understand this is the agency they're quietly trying to dismantle, and they won't even say it to your face. Following a lawsuit from 22 states, a federal judge has mandated that FEMA restore billions in canceled funding for the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities BRIC program. The administration's initial attempt to unlawfully end the program had stalled over 2,000 vital infrastructure projects nationwide. Let that sink in. A federal judge had to order this administration to stop breaking the law and restore $3.6 billion meant to protect communities from floods and disasters. 2,000 projects frozen, including one in DeLauro's own New Haven. And as she said out loud, she may never see that money because she represents a blue state. That's the quiet cruelty here. Real safety projects held hostage over politics while families stay in harm's way. And then she closes on the part nobody can spin away. Deaths in custody. Watch Mullin try to deflect to crime in Illinois or Oklahoma. Anything to change the subject. DeLauro refuses to let him. She makes the distinction crystal clear. This is civil detention, not criminal. These are people who were not convicted of anything, and 54 of them are dead. She doesn't want a dodge. She wants a plan, a policy, and a timeline. This is the line he cannot wriggle out of. A damning new report details an unprecedented spike in fatalities within U.S. immigration detention facilities, with over 50 individuals dying in civil custody. Rights groups are condemning the administration for inadequate health care and demanding immediate accountability for the preventable loss of life. 54 people in civil detention, dead. Not a sentence served, not a conviction, just held by this department and gone. DeLauro said it best. They should not be dead, and we need a plan. That's the whole hearing in one breath. Children lost, workers betrayed, disaster funds frozen, and lives ending in custody, while the man in charge points fingers instead of answering. If this made you angry, it should. Like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what you think should happen next. I'm Donald Taylor. I'll see you in the next one.